up, though, Detroit? Hello, world. And welcome to another episode of Detroit Bicycle. Here with me today and every episode, co-hosting, we have Bruno.
What up, Henry, man?
What's up, Bruno?
Hey, just out here, man.
And can't forget Mr. Bobby Brown.
Hola, senor. How are you today?
Oh, bringing that flavor, bro.
I just started the Duolingo.
And I am Henry Ford II. And we are here again, excited about our in-studio guests.
Right.
Where it all started.
The
mothership.
Origins. Where we met.
Origins.
Yes, this is the OG.
Yeah.
This is the complement to all the other bike rides out there.
Right.
This is the blueprint of a lot of bike rides out there.
Absolutely.
In-house today, we have the co-founder of Slow Roll Detroit, Mr. Mike MacKool.
Hello, hello.
And the executive chairman, Mr. Jeff Heron.
Henry, guys, how are you?
Hey.
Good.
What's up, brothers? You guys all right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We really do appreciate you guys coming out. It's about
Yeah,
about that season, you know.
Yeah.
The weather's starting to crack up a little bit. And
Right.
Just
I start
spring is in the air.
seeing people out there making mistakes in the bike lanes.
Of course.
A few new bike reveals are popping up
Oh,
here.
yeah. People are bringing out their new whips.
Yep.
Yes, they
The
are.
season is upon us.
Yeah.
So, Mike,
Yes, sir.
Slow Roll, for listeners who are not local and who may have not heard of us,
Wow.
yes.
Are they still out there?
Both of them.
Right. Please give us a little history of this thing called Slow Roll and how we got to where we are today.
It's a long road. It's
Big
a long,
Big time.
a long road filled with many bikes. So Slow Roll started. Oh man, are we coming into our 8th season?
I believe so.
Yeah,
wow.
I think I was adding up my shirts last night.
That's
That's how I tell.
2010, right?
Yeah.
No,
I think you're older than you think. That happens to all of us, by the way.
bad. You know.
It was 11?
2011.
Yeah.
Officially,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Well, we started in the end of 2009, and then the first full season was, or 2010, and the first full season was 2011.
Right on.
So, it started really as a club ride, handful of us, literally, like maybe 5, 6. I think the most we got the first year is like about 40 people. But yeah, Slow Roll started good old Woodbridge, Slow Roll to Slow Jams.
I have that shirt.
Kind of rocking both of them right
Yeah,
now.
nice. Yeah, old school.
And, it was just a ride for friends to get together and, enjoy riding bikes in Detroit because it's like pretty much one of the greatest things you can do
Literally.
in the city. And not only in the city, but the city's the best for doing it, really. And so we started taking people out and we just started opening it up to more and more friends. We named it Slow Roll just to, have that connection with the road and be able to have it be a ride for everybody.
Right.
That was really important for us to not pigeonhole us into like something fast or something vintage or, single speeds or cruisers. We just really wanted to bring the whole bicycle scene, which was back then a little smaller than it is now. And, we just, let people bring more friends. And next thing you know, it's just like year after year, it was like more and more and more. And more.
Organically, exactly.
100%. It was like, we had this thing and it became something really special really quickly. And I think recognizing that we want to really cultivate that message, which is, be in Detroit,
Right.
be on your bike,
Celebrate it.
come together,
Yes.
everybody come together. It turned into this from a simple bike ride to a true gathering and community building, like pretty quick. So, we went from 5 to 10 to 3,000 plus per week on a Monday night.
Right. And records have proven there have been up to 5,000 at points during
You hear some
peaks of
crazy
the
numbers.
summers.
It's so hard to count. We stopped counting.
Right.
you
Well,
know?
when you have a group of people on bikes that surround our city blocks and we lap and wait
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
we can move, that speaks volumes in and of itself.
Yeah, a 2-mile trail of bicycles is
Correct.
is a lot
Correct.
of people.
It got big, and it got big in a hurry, and it got big with nobody planning it. And for a time, I think we were all pretty impressed with our bigness.
Yes.
Yeah.
People would say, "Oh, we're look how big we're getting. We're the biggest ride. We're arguably the biggest ride."
Sure.
And somewhere along the way, I think we started thinking about, well, why are we getting big? What are we tapping into?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, at least, it no longer became important that we were the biggest bike ride, but I thought we were the most meaningful bike ride out there. And I still believe that's true today. And
100%.
It doesn't matter to me
so.
whether it's 1,000 in a late October ride or 5,000 in the middle of summer.
Right.
We're still doing
All inclusive,
the thing that we were always doing that made people show up in the first place.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that really piqued my interest when we first started out, you had dedicated destinations.
Yep.
You talked about the location we were at or the significance of a building or any history of significance that many people weren't aware of, even that you had a Detroit address. There's parts of the city that were introduced to a lot of people.
Route planning was like such a major thing for us back then. I mean, it still is today, obviously, but it's just a totally different beast. You know, back then, that's one thing I really miss is bringing somebody to like a historically significant or Detroit unique, you know, some origin story.
Sure.
Where you can take someone there and explain to them and take a big picture.
Right.
That's really what blew us up is the pictures. It's really, and that was when we were doubling each week. I mean, we would go and, you know, there'd be like 50 people on bikes and you take a picture out in front of like a mural or a community garden or some historical landmark of Detroit, whether it be a church or whatever. And then people would be like, what are you guys doing on a Monday night?
Right.
Like you'd see all these comments like, what are you doing? And then people would be like, bring your friends. I mean, that was one thing I'd always say at the end. Thanks for coming. Bring a friend. And, you know, people would bring back 2 or 3. So there were points where we were literally doubling our numbers each week.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, go from like 100 to 200 to 400
Right.
to 600. Like it was wild. And people were like, oh, what are you going to do when you get 1,000? We're like, well, never hit 1,000. There's not 1,000 people
on bikes. Right.
There's not 1,000 people on bikes out here. There's not 1,000 people who can come out on a Monday night.
Right.
You know, we started on a Monday night because it's a slow night because not many people can come out.
Sure.
Yeah. And that was really 2013. And that was the year I got involved.
Right.
When I showed up and there were 40 people at the first ride I was at.
Yeah.
But then there were 75, then there were 100. I remember turning to Jason Hall, maybe my second or third ride, as this thing was getting bigger and bigger. And I said, how big do you think this can get? And he held up 3 fingers, and he absolutely meant 300 people, not 3,000. And for me, I was the guy moving in from Ann Arbor, where I'd lived for a long time, moving back into the city. And so for me, Slow Roll was a way to reconnect with the city and explore some neighborhoods.
Sure.
But I had been involved in sports publishing for a while, and I had promoted bike races out in the burbs and around the state. And that's how I knew Mike and Jason and how I got involved in the organization. But for me, you know, the city was still under an emergency financial manager. The streetlights weren't working. And it was that we'll ask for forgiveness, not permission.
Sure.
You know, everything that I'd ever done with bike riding was, you know, get a permit, get insurance, jump through 20 hoops with some city or the state DNR or whoever. And this thing was just happening. And I was just fascinated by it. I thought it was the most fun thing on bikes I'd seen, and I'd seen a couple of things.
You know, we definitely wanted to have that balance of being rogue, but also organized.
Sure.
You know, like, and I don't want to knock critical mass for what it is, but we definitely were aiming for the opposite.
Right.
You know, critical mass did that thing where it brought people together, but the chaos and the speed, it really turned people off. So and it turned us off because it became aggressive. And, you know, we're like, we don't want to be aggressive. We just want to go on a slow bike ride, you know, pop a bottle of wine in my bottle holder and, you know, meet in the garden beforehand and ride off.
Sure.
And it was just, I don't know.
And anybody on a fixed gear, on a cruiser.
Anybody.
It didn't matter.
7 years old.
You know, so we created this organized, slow-paced ride, but we were still, you know, blocking streets ourselves and doing all that. And that was a whole adaptive process too. Like when we were growing, it was like, oh man, we actually got to do a little bit more than what we have been doing.
I mean, the rides were small enough you could make it through during a light.
Yeah.
You didn't have to, and you know, they're holding up, you know, lights up like it's like no business now. You know,
Well, the police are better at it.
yeah, the lights help. The flashing lights help.
Although I've said this to city council members and the police, I think the people who were organizing the ride, and that's everybody at this table. I look around these faces and I'm kind of I have to remind myself that I'm in 6 years and I'm still the new kid on the block. But as it grew, Mike and others just intuitively knew we needed to do something more.
Sure.
For me, that moment came maybe my 5th or 6th ride when I was corking, and nobody taught us to cork. You just saw, oh, that's what we do. Let's do that. And I found myself, as it was getting dusk, corking the intersection of Martin Luther King and Trumbull and Grand River by myself. And I think to myself,
Nice.
Yeah, the trifecta over there.
what?
They must have had a lot of faith in you.
I didn't have that faith in myself. I said, Jeff, what are you doing here?
Having fun.
But just seeing that.
Right.
Within 2 weeks is when Squad came out. That's when the orange shirts came out. There was this organic.
The Marshals at the time.
Marshalls.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Marshalls.
The Jack
came out.
Daniels shirt.
Yeah.
And I think it's a tribute to the people who've been putting this thing on and making it go for 10 years now. That whenever there's a need or we realize that we're maybe being more of an inconvenience than perhaps we have a right to be, we step up.
Sure.
And we've done that organically throughout. And as we started to partner with the city and finding ways to make it work for them and for us and for the police department, we've continued to do that. And I think everybody who has stayed, and that's a lot of people, appreciate that. And that mindset is something that's been present since day one.
Well, I mean, I've met each and every single one of you guys from you guys stepping up to help.
Right.
You know, every one of you guys literally showed up. We're either riding too fast.
Bobby.
Oh, yeah, I'm on radio. Pointing doesn't work. But the people who are riding fast were like, oh, you don't want to ride slow? We got a job for you.
Yep.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, the next day, next Monday, they were like, you know what? Go see Big Mike.
Bruno's not listening. He's riding too fast. Let's give him something to do.
Right.
But really, you all stepped up, and that's the environment that was cultivated.
Sure.
You know, where it feels important, even though it's just a bike ride. But it's not. It's not just a bike ride.
It's not. If you don't mind, I always see it this way, and this is what keeps bringing me back is that the stakeholders in the transportation solution in the city, you can't have a table big enough.
Right.
And if it is big enough, they can't talk to each other. We've created the table.
Yeah.
You know, we've created a place where you can ride up and back and forth and around and see and then hang out. There are people who barbecue before and after the rides now.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's like tailgating going on now. I mean, there are people hanging out with other people, and that's that right there. It makes it all worth it.
And you know, that's what it brings to mind on how it all started, is including everybody.
Yes. Everybody.
And then those people that felt included wanted to do more.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's how it grew. I mean, whether it's assisting the ride, whether it's promoting the ride, whether it's being a proper rider.
Yeah, coming out and acting right.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, all that makes a difference.
There's loyal ones they're yelling at people to get to the right more than I am.
Right.
Yeah. I almost think some people enjoy it at this point. They're like, yeah, I get my aggression out on Mondays. Get to the right. But I mean, you know, there was so many opportunities. Now we have, you know, people, medical professionals on our ride helping out, you know, professional bike repair cats who want to be a part of SAG. Like, where can I help?
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
And
I get asked every week, how can I help?
Yes.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And those early years, if you talk to somebody like, hey, how'd you hear about us? They're like, oh, my friend.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it was literally very conversational. I mean, it was just people having a conversation, which is, you know, translated into the conversations they have on the bikes, on the ride. It's awesome.
Well, that ownership is something we always wanted to bring out in our riders, especially, you know, first year, whatever, it's like 40 people max. The second year, I think only the 120 people, I think was the most we had. But even when we started growing from like the 10, 20, 30, 40, we're like, this is for you guys. This isn't us. You know, as founders, we were like, you know, don't come out. This isn't our ride. This is your ride. And we always wanted to relay that message and have it be for everybody.
Right. It carried. I mean,
it really does. People
take
took ownership. Oh yeah. They take ownership. They take pride, you know, and that's what got them, like you said, it's either helping in some direct way or an indirect way by bringing their friends and family.
Yeah.
I got my dad on.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
I've seen grandparents on this ride. It's
Sure.
just, it's wild.
I mean, there have been children on trikes.
Yes.
I mean, literally, we've
big
had-
wheels.
Right.
It's like when someone asks, "Well, what's your what's your demographic?" It's like
Everybody.
demographic.
All of the above. Like, we'll take you.
So, you know, that leads me to, you know, there's been other rides that have started. Not necessarily because of slow roll, but because of slow roll.
Yeah.
There's been groups that, there's been groups that have realized the kinship, but they all started from slow roll.
Oh, yeah.
And they may have done something else, started rides throughout the week, but they know, and they often do, always come back to slow roll. So, there are some exclusionary rides around the city, and, that's on behalf of some safety measures of sort. But the fact that slow roll dawned an era around the city that made it popular and fun to gather people of likenesses or not, like slow roll, to get out there and just enjoy the city.
Yeah, the only thing you have to have in common is time off on Monday, so you can go and a bike.
Yeah.
Those are the two. That's it. After that, it's.
You talk to a lot of people and they schedule time off.
Oh, yeah, right. They're like,
I can't tell you, my schedule changed. I can't ride. It's like people have turned, like I've literally heard someone say, no, I can't work this job because it's going to conflict with slow roll.
I mean, they don't. I'm sorry. Go right ahead, Jeff.
Mike and I have become amateur weathermen because on Monday morning, if there's a cloud in the sky, if there's a cloud in the sky in Grand Rapids, we start getting the calls. We get the calls from the police. We get calls from city council folks, and we all have to figure out, is it going to rain or not? And that's an interesting way to spend a Monday. But none of us like weather cancellations. But when someone says, I took my vacation day, I scheduled this 3 months ago, and they can't do a slow roll, we always feel horrible about that. Right. But I think it reflects just how meaningful it is to some folks that they work their lives and their schedule to come down and be part of what we do on Monday nights.
They'll drive.
Right. It's an experience.
Drive hours.
Yeah.
But like, you got to cancel. You got to tell me early. And we say, we got to tell you as early as we possibly can because we don't want to cancel.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry I'm late. I was crossing the bridge.
Right. So you've got people adjusting their schedules. You've got people moving to the city. You've got people spending more time in the city because of experiences based off of slow roll. The influence is heavy. So
it is. Bars and people have like great Monday nights now because of slow roll. Like a lot of places will tell you their best night of the week is a Monday night. And that's not even where we're starting. That's just in the city. Right. Because people flock and they they disband. And that's a big difference between like something like slow roll and something like a big sports event or a concert. Because a lot of people are coming in and they're coming out.
Right. Yep.
Right.
Slow roll, we're like, no, let's slow this down a bit. Let's take away this car. Let's take away this speed and frustration. And like, let's just really open people's eyes of what's going on around them in the city. And that really, it developed like a culture behind it, obviously.
Most definitely.
But it's just, it's amazing. Sometimes I can talk about this for literally hours, but sometimes I still get caught off by it because it's so humbling. It's like, it's wild. Every week I could be busting heads with everything all day and be like, oh my God, slow roll, got to do this. And it's like, things are hectic and things are crazy and you got all these people coming at you and I'm like, God, this is so hard and it's so much work and blah, blah, blah. And then we get like a block away and I'm like, oh yeah, there's like kids coming out of their houses and waving at us and like you're a parade and everybody's cheering you on. And it's just like, you
still see people showing up.
Still people showing up and like yelling and you turn around and you see this line behind you and you're like, oh, like this is just, it's amazing that it's even able to happen.
Exactly.
It's amazing that we were able to handle it, the growth, like all of us handle that growth and like make it happen. And then the city embracing it.
Yes.
Cause really, like I was saying, we were dancing that balance of being rogue, but organized. And they did recognize that.
Yeah.
So, they even said like, we see you guys, we see your growth. Let's work this out.
Yep.
Like, they had no interest in trying to stop us. There was never, since the day we started, ever been a conversation with slow roll. We can't do this.
Yeah.
That's never even been on the playing field.
Right. Early on, we were being averted and being stopped by police.
Oh yeah, I remember.
That's when they caught you. Yeah, if you got caught,
If you got caught,
there
might have been a slight issue.
There might have been an issue.
A little bit of impeding traffic.
There may have been a ticket or two,
right?
Even.
And now,
now
just to see that Officer Porter, he leads us every week now.
His people do a great job.
Shout
out to the
DPD.
Yeah.
Well, to be embraced like that is just it shows. It's a testament to Slow Roll. It's a testament to the city, and it's a testament to what's going on around here, especially 9 years ago.
Right.
So there's been a lot of change in these 9 years. A lot of change.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at cycling culture, the city, everything. Slow Roll played a small piece in that. Like you said, people are moving back for it.
They got a velodrome.
Hey, there are several indicators that I think that are indicators to the success or how Slow Roll is added to the city, and it's the increasing number of bike shops.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
That's true.
When we first started riding together, you knew where your friends were by their bike in front of whatever establishment they might have been locked up in front of.
It was
and
crazy. You would know every person on the road.
Yeah, it's not possible now.
No.
It's not.
No,
Like every 10th bike. You're like, oh, I know that. Is that grip tape? Yeah. I know that.
Well, I think the bike culture is changing the way the city is changing, and it's changing dramatically, and it's changing quickly. And I think one of the things that we do, and it's one of the reasons I say we are coincidentally a bike ride. We are this absolutely huge, amazing bike ride, but we are also this now 10-year conversation that's taking place among the city, among our riders who don't live inside the city. And the dynamic of, well, who are these people that are causing this inconvenience, and is this worth it?
Right.
Is a useful conversation to have, because when suddenly there were 4,000 or 5,000 of us on a Monday night and nobody had given permission, nobody had asked for permission, and people were rightfully asking, who are these people coming through my neighborhood?
Yeah.
And it immediately led to conversations about respect, about welcoming new people, how you welcome new people, how new people learn to be in the city. And I think one of the best things we did was just not moderate our Facebook pages. We allowed that dialogue just to run free form, and for people to talk to each other after the ride the way they talk to people to each other on the ride.
During it, right.
And I think it's creating that understanding.
And that's how you learn a lot too, because you get different opinions from different people, and you get to judge what's really going on out there.
I tell people that I think that's what we do, that our fundamental nonprofit mission is that we bring people together who wouldn't ordinarily spend time together, and we take them slowly on a bike where it's hard to be angry to a place they might not ever go.
Sure.
And then they can sort out for themselves where the meaning is in that. Because everybody has their own meaning. Everybody draws something different from Slow Roll. And we don't have to shape it, and we don't have to govern it.
And we don't even have to validate it. We just have to be glad that we have it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Just recognize that it exists. Like, there you go.
It's different for everybody.
Right.
Oh yeah.
It is fundamentally self-validating.
Yeah.
Nobody comes to Slow Roll because of anybody at this table or anybody who might ever have sat at this table.
Exactly.
People come to this ride for themselves, and they find that meaning, and they give of themselves. There are only a couple things you need to have available to you to be successful in Slow Roll. You got to have a bike, and you got to have
working condition.
You got to have some curiosity,
and a tube, maybe.
and you got to have some curiosity and some respect. And if you're willing to bring that out on a Monday night, then you will find meaning.
Plain and simple. And you can find yourself riding next to a school teacher, riding next to a doctor, riding next to someone unemployed, a student. That's the beauty of it. There is no criteria of who is allowed to come. Be neighborly, talk to your neighbor, wave and speak to the neighbors.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And
respect for where we ride through.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed of what you can find.
That's actually come a long way too. That the point you were making, Mike, about people respecting the neighborhoods. People, I mean, people are now self-enforcing that. The people on the ride are like, no, pick that up.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
No.
Get off that
we don't
sidewalk.
do that
Yeah, we don't do that. That's not how we get down.
Because it's easy to get caught up in it. Because it's a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's
it's a major event.
It is. It's major.
Oh, the first time you go, it's like falling down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
You're like, what?
Right.
You can't believe what you're seeing. Like, it's so sensory overload. The sound, the sounds of the bikes, the sound of the conversations, the sound of the music, the
city
bikes,
itself.
the lights, the people.
Well, I think we developed a pretty cool thing.
Yeah.
I think so.
I mean, so cool. It's spread actually.
Right. Yeah. We do have rides in other cities. They've all been a little on and off, but we got some great rides out there. Buffalo.
Oh, Buffalo's amazing.
Buffalo's amazing.
Buffalo is amazing.
I mean, they really even took what we did and almost really made it better.
they
or maybe even do it better. I don't know.
Well, the inclusion that they had with everyone off the get helped a lot.
Yes.
So.
Well, I mean, we made the model,
right.
And it's like, they didn't have to go through a lot of the growing pains that we had to go through because we could tell them.
And they started on second base.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So there's Buffalo, Chicago.
Oh, Cleveland's still
Cleveland's
still going.
Oh yeah.
DC's on a break,
right? But still, they're gonna be back.
Yeah.
Overseas, I mean,
we've had a number overseas. They've been on and off, but we've had 2 different rides start up in Sweden. I had a guy do 2 seasons in Iraq.
I remember that.
I got the slow roll tee for that.
Nice.
Yeah.
I had a girl do a season in Germany. What else was there? I think that's it. Yeah.
So it's a worldwide phenomenon.
Well, I mean, we get out there and it's like, not only are we opening up this conversation about the city amongst its residents and non-residents in the area, but the conversation has been opened up and had a light shine on Detroit internationally.
Yes.
I mean, we've had, amazing press and stuff come out about slow roll in Detroit. So the worldwide effect of what we did for the city I feel like is pretty substantial. I mean, I've done so many freaking videos and commercials and interviews and newspapers and TV programs. It's really like all over the country, all over the world. It's really pretty incredible because it's something that catches you. And even if you're not here and see it really, the feeling comes across. It's definitely special.
Yeah,
indeed.
And it's not hard to see it.
No.
Because you just see these smiling faces rolling around.
Yeah,
it's infectious.
It's so infectious.
So
you hear the
and
music.
it's Monday night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that erases anything that, no matter how crappy your day was.
Oh my God!
You forget
the bikes,
instantly.
the bikes you see, the people you see. When we do the Halloween ride, the costumes you see. It's like really people put a lot of work into it, and like everything that's come of it. Like you said, all these other rides, all these clubs. I mean, like how many clubs are in the city?
Yes.
It's like it's crazy. So I mean, I don't want to ever claim responsibility for all that. I think we just played a crucial part at a crucial time in the city.
Exactly.
It's very critical that we struck that right chord at the right time.
Yeah.
So we are really very lucky that it really even happened like this. Because if we started slow roll today, it wouldn't be what it is.
True.
No. It wouldn't. No way, because the city's different and just it's timing.
It's timing. Yeah.
And energy doesn't die. Energy transforms. And I think that one of the things we did was tap into some kind of energy. People felt a need to connect the way they were doing. And that some people have taken that energy and they're doing other things. I think we can all around this table be proud of that.
Certainly.
That Mike's right. We didn't create the bike clubs, but people came to slow roll, found bike clubs,
Oh yeah.
hung out with bike clubs, started their own bike clubs. People started their own rides. People learned of other rides in addition to slow roll.
Exactly.
They wanted to go faster. They wanted something more fitness oriented than we are. I think everybody who comes to slow roll, they're there for some period of time.
Sure.
And for everyone around this table has been doing it forever and doesn't show signs of letting up. Other people, maybe it's just a couple rides. Maybe you only need to ride 2 or 3 slow rolls and you've had your experience and you've captured your meaning.
And you're good with it, right?
But whatever your time is with slow roll, I think anyone who connects with us and then moves on, takes something positive with them and is able to make a contribution.
And they're going to continue and go find what really fits them anyway. And now that's available to them now. Because there's so many other.
If slow roll is not for somebody,
right?
That doesn't bother us.
There's a ride.
There's
for
something
you.
for you.
There's a ride out there for you.
We thank you for coming.
Yeah, come ride bikes. If it's not for you, ride bikes with somebody else.
Yeah.
Just ride bikes.
Just get out there in the city.
And that was another thing we tried to cultivate early. Is we're not trying to compete with other rides.
No,
we're trying to.
It's not a race.
It's not a race.
It's an exhibition.
It's always funny because it's like, well, why are you like so upset that our ride is so big when all we're doing is getting more people on bikes? That's the goal.
Yes.
That's the goal. The goal is to get more butts on bikes.
Yeah. That is the perfect segue because coming up next month in May, this year, our mid-May, our new season is approaching pretty quickly.
Rapidly.
So
I'm not nervous at all.
And so obviously, the same flavor will return. There'll be just the excitement that we are energized by. You'll definitely see all of us there. And if you're visiting or if you haven't been or if you are just wanting to ride bikes with thousands of people.
Who doesn't?
Right.
Yeah.
If you don't want to ride bikes with a bunch of people having a great time, I don't know.
Right.
Don't know what to tell you, man.
It's like a Monty Python skit on two wheels, man. It is hilarious.
Other words called slow roll.
Yeah.
Slow roll.
So fun.
Yeah, we're looking forward to mid-May. There's a lot of work that goes into this. And I think that's a whole aspect that people appreciate but don't always recognize because
behind the scenes.
It's a bike ride, right? Yeah, cool. Just have a little bike ride. But when you're talking about thousands of people and managing that on a weekly basis, I mean, if you told any event coordinator that you host a 3,000 person event every week, they'd be like, how?
Right.
Yeah.
Where?
How? Where?
In a different place.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's a different location, different venue each week.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's so many ins and outs to it. And, we work really hard to do our best to get it out there and do everything. I know everybody's waiting on the official start date, but we don't want to jump our guns too soon.
Coming soon.
Yeah,
Stay tuned.
Very,
we will let
very
the people know.
It reminds me of the old adage of the kind of like a duck or a swan, real calm and chill on top of the water. Beneath the water, it's just kicking and going, trying to make stuff happen.
Yeah.
So
It's like that. I think sometimes we take for granted that this thing just happens.
Yes.
Even those of us who are paddling under the water to make it go. Your comment about what would an event director say? In my prior life, I used to publish an outdoor sports magazine, and I talked to event directors all across the state all the time. And they know some of them know what I'm up to. And they're saying, so how big is your staff? I'm going, staff?
you're looking at it.
The ragtag volunteers.
Well, ragtag and dedicated, and there is a kind of benefit in that. And that is that, we had early discussions as the thing got big, as we needed things like insurance, as we had to deal with the police. We created a nonprofit and we created a structure. And there were early discussions like, so what is this going to be? And is this going to be how people make their living or not? Are we going to have a big paid staff or not? And Lord knows our lives would be easier if we just said to the paid staff, take care of this.
Right.
But the responsibilities that come with raising that money with sponsorship, it necessarily involve changing the flavor of what we do. And other nonprofit organizations around the city say, how does Slow Roll do it? And I think the answer is, wisely or unwisely, we do it the way we've always done it.
Right.
We just get together and make it happen.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's a little windy and sometimes that's a little messy, but that's the nature of bike riding and that's the nature of us.
But I mean, I'm sorry again, Jeff, but there's so many volunteers that show up and everybody finds their niche. Like everybody does their thing and it just it's like worker ants, man. It's just like everything happens because every ant does their one thing and they just do it really well.
The first ride of the season is always fun because you feel like almost like, how is this going to happen? But then everybody shows up and it happens. It's so second nature to all of us at this table, and all of the squad that has been with us for years, and even our riders. At this point, it's like they kind of know what's up. And the people who don't or are new, they're told what's up, and like when we started creating like the code of conduct, man, I remember how much slack we caught for like creating rules and like eliminating what was going on. But like, it's important, it really is.
Have structure.
It is important to have the structure, and I think it sets the tone, and we can't be completely chaotic. We're already doing enough.
Right.
God, it's so funny. Herding cats.
Yes.
So yes, come on out, enjoy yourself with us on Monday nights coming this summer. And just on personal benefit on all of us, we can always use the help. So if you're interested, come see myself, Bruno, Bobby, Mike, or Jeff. and we can set you up with the right individual and welcome you to the family.
Yeah, I mean, we need all sorts of help.
Yeah, we can use it.
We need riders. We need squad on bikes. We need squad at the registration tent. We need, it's a lot. It's a lot happening.
It's a lot. So if you feel a need or you feel fulfilled by doing any assistance, we could always use your help. Mike and Jeff, thanks for coming out. But before we let you go,
okay,
this segment that we enjoy the most, I think, collectively, is our hot seat, rapid fire, 5 questions.
Okay.
And we provide these for all of our guests just to get some insight on you, our guests. All right, Mike and Jeff, describe your first bike. Jeff, go first.
There were bikes in my childhood, like my father pushed me down the hill without the training wheels on to see whether I could make that go. I'm sure it was just a slope.
Not a fond memory. Huh?
I'm sure it was just a slope in the lawn, but it felt like a hill at the time. No, the bike that really matters, my first bike, was my Schwinn that I bought with my paper route money.
There you go.
My parents had this deal. I was the youngest of 4, and my parents had this deal, like, get a paper route, work after school, save some money. Whatever you save at the end of the year, we'll match. And I was the only kid they ever had to match money for.
Wow.
But I saved up enough for my Schwinn, and I did not buy it. I waited till the end of the year, and then my parents matched the savings. And then that next summer, I got that Schwinn.
So you were the best bike on the block then.
I did. And my block had a number of nice bikes, but mine was the only one that was paid for.
Nice. Mike?
Oh, man. So, the first time I rode a bike, I don't know if I ever told you guys this, but my brother taught me how to ride a bike when I was about 3 years old.
Wow.
He takes me out back and he's like, tells my mom, I'm going to teach Mike how to ride a bike. She's like, okay, whatever. And he comes back in about 15 minutes later and she's like, Mike rides a bike. He's like, oh, training wheels. And then she comes in the backyard and I'm literally riding around on a 2-wheel bike.
No.
And that was
That's
a little
awesome.
one of those old school red and white Schwinns. That was a great bike.
Nice.
But my first bike as an adult and like kind of what started all this really was a blue Fuji that was just fantastic, but it got stolen out of my car. It sucked. So then immediately after I got my silver Gavin. And I still ride that just about every slow roll.
Nice.
So yeah, that bike changed so much in my life. I'd been riding around with friends, borrowing bikes, going down to Belle Isle. But then I finally was like, I'm going to stop messing around. I'm going to get my own bike. And it changed my life 100% because it reconnected me with the city. It's like, and that's what I wanted to share with people,
right on.
Cause it totally reconnected me with the city. And I found myself going out every day on that bike and just having so much fun.
Nice.
I got to talk about another bike. Mike did several. This actually connects to my first bike. So when I started doing Slow Roll in 2013, I was riding this mountain bike. And when I was doing sports publishing, I had access to lots of really nice bike stuff. We would demo bikes. We would write about bikes.
Cool.
But what I couldn't help but notice is that all the cool kids had these old steel bikes. And I remember visiting my brother out in Jackson. He was like, what are you doing with this bike ride? And I said, yeah, I'm going into Detroit. I'm riding my bike. And he goes, what are you riding? And I said, my mountain bike. But what I really wanted was like an old Fuji. And his eyes lit up because in his garage, he had this old steel Fuji that was a curb find in Jackson.
Wow.
And my brother didn't find
it.
My next door neighbor from 4th grade found this bike.
Wow.
He became friends with my older brother. And he was out in Jackson. He's just a very thrifty guy. And he saw this bike on the curb and he tossed it in the back of his truck and gave it to my brother. So quite literally, the guy who went with me when I bought that bike that I saved my paper route money for is the guy who delivered the bike I've been riding in Detroit for 6 years. And my only investment in that bike is I put a new cassette on it, but when I got it, it needed new rubber and new tubes.
Sure.
And there's no wood in this studio to knock on. But in 2013, when I got this bike, I took it to a bike shop. They taped the rims, they put on new rubber, new tubes, and I've been riding it for 6 years.
Way.
On the same rubber.
Nice.
I've not yet had a flat in Detroit.
Oh, you better knock on something.
Here,
So-
I'll do my head.
This is my season for flat.
I think you just cursed yourself.
Right.
I think when you talk about it's like a no-hitter.
Yeah. There you go.
All right, so you're on a bike, not necessarily your favorite bike or your first bike. What's your favorite ride? Destination, location?
That's a good question.
I'm a big fan of the Beat the Train ride.
Okay.
Learned about it years ago when it was tiny.
Another mention.
And it's a bunch of mostly male, mostly mammals, got guys in Lycra coming into the city from elsewhere. But it's been going on forever. And I now live in West Industrial, and it starts, less than 5 minutes from my house.
First thing in the morning.
First thing in the morning on a Saturday, cruising
Pass by my way.
cruising up the Riverwalk with virtually nobody on it. You hit Belle Isle, and this time of year you're hitting it as the sun's coming up over the river.
Yep.
It's a pretty good pace. So we put in maybe 35 miles and you get a little bit of exercise, and stop for breakfast in Mexican Town afterwards. And it's, that's a good way to start a Saturday morning.
Yep.
And it kind of tempers your Friday night.
It does. It makes you act right for sure.
That's true.
At my age, it does. not Bruno.
Mike?
I'm trying to actually think of my favorite slow roll ride of all these seasons. And one that sticks out is Dabbles. Going to Dabbles has always been so much fun. And that one ride that was a year when we really blew up.
Oh, yeah.
3,000
I remember
people
that.
Out in front of the glass house.
Yeah. And I think, were we shooting for Apple at the time too? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Man, that was a great ride.
Yes, it was.
And
Picture perfect, good day, everything.
Did they have the drum circle out on that one, or was that the one before that we did it?
I think before
that, yeah.
That's my favorite.
Okay.
Yeah, that was.
I remember that one.
That was when we pulled up and they had the drums out and the music and
the stage.
Oh my God, that was so much fun. Man, there's been a lot of really great rides. But I'm gonna throw that. Dabbles has always been one of my favorite stops.
Okay, all right. You kind of alluded to this. What brought you back to cycling? I mean, was it something specific, or you always had your bike? What kind of flavor?
I definitely had a break from riding my bike for sure. From obviously like a lot of people, from when you get your license, you don't go back on the bike. And that bike that I was talking about, the Fuji, that was actually the summer before I got that. A friend of a friend left their bike at my buddy's at the shack.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
Back when Andrew had it.
Yeah.
And he left his bike there all season. And that was the season of riding our bikes to Belle Isle, almost every day. And it was that was that reconnection.
There you go.
It was getting somebody else's bike.
Joe?
Oh, ironically, I was producing this sports magazine and I was producing bicycle events and I was not riding a bike. Bicycling was a desk job for me. And in 2013, the magazine was going away because it was hard to keep magazines going. And I had a long-term relationship that was ending, and I was trying to figure out where I was going to live next and how I was going to spend that next chunk of my life. And I wanted to come back to Detroit. So I literally got on a bike and came to a slow roll. Well, first I went to a party at what was then the state, the Tweed Party.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
And everyone's nostalgic for the slow roll that they fell in love with.
Sure.
And the one that I fell in love with was very small. But I was in a life transition, and I was needing to establish a network of friends in Detroit before I moved to Detroit. And 2013 was just a magical year for slow roll, and for me personally. And the bike did that. That's what got me back on the bike. I mean, the first couple hundred people I met in Detroit, 180 or 90 of those people were on slow roll, and most of those people no longer do the ride. The ride's too big for them.
Sure.
They moved on in life. But all of those people, with a couple of exceptions, I still consider friends. And when we see each other, we read each other and we remember that fondly. All of that happened on a bicycle.
There you go.
And so, my fifth slow roll, was the first time I ever saw Boston Edison up close and personal. I said, And, 5 months, 6 months later, when I moved to Detroit, I moved into a rental house I was sharing with some guys in Boston Edison. People sometimes asked, anybody who's actually moved to Detroit because of slow roll? And I raised my hand because I did it, and I bought a house in the city with a business partner. And so the bike has done a lot of things for me.
Nice.
And so I didn't just connect with the bike. I connected with the city, and the bike just made that possible. And I think that's kind of what slow roll does.
What is your favorite Detroit flavor? It could be Verner's. It could be.
Well, as soon as you said Verner's, it's all I want.
It could be Dilla.
It could be Della.
It could be anything. Coney.
Anything. It could be chicken shawarmas. What's your favorite flavor, Jeff?
Love.
Detroit's got a lot of love.
That's true.
Yeah.
Right on.
That's true.
The flavor that I connect with about Detroit. Don't
That's
get me
what's
wrong.
up.
I love the food. Chicken and waffles at New Center at 4 a.m. on a Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody knows they're open then, but they
Right.
are. That's great. But what really connects me when I think of Detroit flavor is just how easy it is to meet people, how welcoming people are, how much people get invested in you quickly. They want you to be successful. They want to know what you're doing. They want you to meet their friends who are doing something that might help you. That's a flavor that this city has that a lot of cities don't. I think a lot of people choose to come to this city because they can capture that and capture meaning in their lives much more easily in a city like Detroit than you can in a city like New York or Chicago or LA.
Right on.
You can come here and be here. And I think love is what makes that possible. So that's my flavor.
Nice. Mike?
Detroit Underground.
Ooh.
Kind of miss it. You know, the Detroit Underground scene, like, I honestly, I feel too old to even really know 100% of what's going on now. But when it was back in mid 90s to through the early 2000s, when I really think that's Detroit started its blossoming, because so much has been done over the last 10 years. It's insane. But that, I feel like the catalyst of that was that 20-year period between 1990 and 2010 where music and art and the underground scene of what really made Detroit really cool. Like, oh, what do you do in Detroit? Oh, I can show you some things to do in Detroit. You know, there's a lot of fun to be had in the city. Exactly.
And wear some boots. Wear some boots. You might get tetanus.
One last question for both of you. What's your one wish for the city of Detroit? Mike, you want to take that one first?
Oh, God, that's a good one. To close down all the streets and have it be bikes only? No.
Hey.
Well, I mean, you know, I think that is a big part of it. Like, the walkability and the transportation of the city is super important. I think, you know, we all want to see a lot of growth, but we don't want to see a lot of traffic. And I think Detroit is a good breeding ground for like, showing how a city can be planned differently and ethically and, strategically.
Nice. Jeff?
Oh, I hope we've learned something. We have this amazing opportunity that we're living on the daily, and things are happening in the city so quickly. And my wish is really that we, by learning something, that we avoid repeating the mistakes of the past.
True story.
That we learn how to welcome folks into the city, lift people who are in the city who need to be lifted, and that we simply don't accidentally, by not paying attention, create a city full of the mistakes that were made in the middle of the 20th century.
I always say progress does not have to come at a price.
I agree with that. I think,
but stupid does.
Yeah.
Stupid comes with a price.
and
you know, I mean, like,
and it's hard to fix stupid.
Correct.
Sometimes you lay your tracks down for stupid, and it's there for 50 or 100 years.
Yeah.
And so, if we can avoid that, and come out of this, I think that would be fantastic. And it's a little bit like the old people planting oak trees. You're never going to really see it grow. Some of us are never going to see what Detroit will be 50 years or 100 years from now. But I think what we are doing in the streets now is going to shape that, and some knowledge will help us.
I agree.
Inclusion is the most important factor of slow road in Detroit. Needs to definitely take notice.
Well said. You guys sticking around, right?
We're gonna throw it out there. We every show, the three of us, Henry and Bobby and I, talk about three things: our three favorite restaurants, our three favorite bikes. What was some of the other ones we favorite art installations? You know,
preparing for the season.
Preparing for the season. So our question today is going to be the one we decided on when we were chopping it up earlier. Was what are your three big things for coming to Slow Roll? Before you come to Slow Roll, what do you need to have done?
What's the must?
Or while at Slow Roll.
While at Slow Roll, right? The Slow Roll experience.
The pre-roll.
The pre-roll, if you will. Bobby, what you got on
the
that?
3 keys to success of a great Slow Roll.
Well, I mean, if you're coming down, for somebody coming down.
For a participant.
That's
for
what
a
I mean,
participant, yeah. So what do you got, Bobby? What'd you pick?
Well, for me, I mean, it's chop it up with the people. You know, when you get there, bring a friend, like MacKool said, if you can, but if not,
make friends.
You know,
they're there.
Talk to your bike neighbor, just engage with the people, engage. You never know who you will meet, that might have a like interest or an interest you didn't even know existed, you may see a cool bike and you want to know, hey, where'd you get that? Or this part, or how do you do it?
Right.
You know,
it's a great opportunity to change.
Yes. Meet the people, engage with the people, you know, nobody bites. Nobody bites. We're all here, you know, we all came here for a reason. So just, you know, find out, engage.
That was a great first answer, Bobby.
Thank you.
Bobby's good at that. Bobby pulls out some gems.
I'm also kind of like, damn it, I should have said that earlier.
I mean, for me, that's what it was.
No,
you know,
I mean,
that's
100% agree. I think that's
like
that's
you say,
why we're here.
when it started, it was like you say, a handful. And I came in at the point where it was like 50. And I'm like, wow, it's this many people riding bikes. And then now it's, you know, 3,000. And you're still like, wow, this many people ride bikes. And we just want it to be more. And engaging with the people is, I think, one of the cooler aspects of it.
No question.
So, Mike, you alluded to it earlier, and I went into my archives and actually grabbed some little flyers that we used to hand out. And my thing for first timers or for repeat visitors of Slow Roll is our Slow Roll code of conduct that was created collectively way back in the day just to get some structure. And we used to actually provide these for Olive Squad to hand out to the cars that we were temporarily disrupting, pausing, just to advise of them what was going on and how we like to operate as a collective. And just a few of the 10 rules that I like. First rule, of course, stay right, helps for everybody else to move around you. Communication, that's one of Bobby's things. Be prepared. Make sure your bike is ready and rideable. Stay alert. Do not litter.
Do not litter.
Do not
yes, definitely.
Litter. Yeah. Do not litter.
Please don't.
What do I always say? If you see somebody litter, make them feel like a jerk.
Make them feel like a jerk for throwing something on your ride.
Yeah.
Exactly. And respect each other. Those are just a few of the highlights for me of the code of conduct.
All right. So what I'm going to allude to something Henry said in the code of conduct is, I know if Grandma Mimi passed or whatever, I'm sorry about that. And you got her bike and it's probably a really cool old Schwinn. Take that mug to a shop and have the bearings redone or what, you know, make sure you can ride the bike before you bring it down. Like we do have mechanics, professional mechanics and semi-pro mechanics that are down there and we will help you. But we don't have bike parts.
Right.
No.
We
don't have a bottom bracket. We don't, you know what I mean? We don't have those things.
Pedals are rare.
Pedal.
That's for dead out here.
Don't leave it. We're not leaving anybody for dead.
No.
And take it to a shop. Have them actually fix it, let you know what the deal is, and then bring it to us. You know, it's going to make your ride much more enjoyable. That first one needs to be right.
AKA support your local bike shop.
Yeah, absolutely. Go out there, man.
I mean, everything you're saying is so incredibly important on so many levels because take your bike to a bike shop.
Right. Because the internet cannot fix your bike.
Know what? And buy your bike from a bike shop. You know, I get it. People want I get the big box stores, they have, you know, cheaper prices, whatever. But you know what? Honestly, buy it not built and take it to a bike shop.
Right.
Have them build it. You don't want the store clerk in the back of the store building your bike.
No. It's probably the maintenance man that's
honestly,
building the bike.
that's what they are.
Right. Jeff?
I want to say bring your heart, which I really mean just bring your curiosity. Come to explore, come to find out what it is that's bringing you there in the first place. That's what I want to say.
Sure.
What I'm actually going to say is bring your willingness to become a member.
There you go.
We are a membership-based organization.
Nonprofit.
We are nonprofit, and we have membership because we have to have insurance, was the original reason for that. And we also have to pay for these police. A lot of people don't realize it.
Sure. And EMS.
And EMS. We spend $6,000 to $7,000 every Monday night just to make this ride go. Yep. And our memberships could not be much cheaper. It's $15 for the year. The first year it was $10. We called it the 33-cent solution. If enough people gave us $10, it was 33 cents a ride. And that would pay these rather large bills. And it pretty much did. Membership has fallen off a bit, not because we don't have people coming along, but a lot of folks are saying, oh, you don't really have to join. Just show up and ride. And I say to those folks, bring your $15.
Please.
Help us pay those police bills. It's an incredible value. It's less than a movie and some popcorn. And it's going to change your life if you're lucky, and it may change your life whether you want it to or not. Yeah. So bring your membership.
And for the last word of our show, MacKool.
God, I should have been thinking about this more while you guys are talking. No, I think I'm actually going to touch on kind of what Jeff was saying too. Bring your openness. You know, I mean, all of you guys are talking about all the same things because it's like, just get together, you know, and just come. Yeah. It doesn't take much to come. You just got to come and just have a great time. Meet somebody, talk to somebody. If you need to bring something, bring somebody else.
There you go.
Bring a friend and then go out after.
Oh, yeah.
See the city.
Hang out.
Enjoy
you know,
don't
just come in and out. Really take in what's going on around you because there's so much to see in the city, and I guarantee you we're going to show you something new.
Well, I couldn't have said it better myself. Mike, Jeff, thank you for all that you do.
Guys.
Slow Roll Detroit coming at you this May. Detroit, be ready. We're coming. Slow roll. Once again, this is Detroit by Cycle. We are all about the love, benefits, art, culture, food, and the people we meet on bikes from the Detroit area and beyond. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.